David Cameron will today appeal to people living in England, Wales and Northern Ireland to speak out against Scottish independence. Scotland's Deputy First Minister is criticising the move. David Cameron will this morning make a direct appeal to people living in England, Wales and Northern Ireland to speak out against Scottish independence. The Prime Minister wants the rest of the UK to send a message to Scotland that Britain wants it to stay. But Scotland's Deputy First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has described the call as shameful. Our political correspondent Alex Forsyth reports.
It's a carefully chosen venue for a speech on unity. At the scene of Team GB's Olympic success, the Prime Minister will praise the United Kingdom and say it must stay united. Speaking ahead of September's referendum on Scottish independence, David Cameron will tell people in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, you don't have a vote, but you do have a voice. He'll urge them to convince Scots to vote to stay in the UK.
The decision that Scots take on the 18th of September...
The debate on Scotland's future is fierce. There were further exchanges in the Commons yesterday. So far, David Cameron's refused to go head-to-head with Scotland's First Minister, previously saying it was a discussion for the Scottish people. Today, Nicola Sturgeon, the country's Deputy First Minister, accused Mr Cameron of delivering high-handed lectures but dodging a debate. She said using a sporting stadium to peddle a political message was shameful, calling him the kind of Tory leader an independent Scotland would be able to avoid. Prime Minister's intervention comes because Westminster's worried about the referendum's result. David Cameron admits the outcome is far from certain.
Well, our political correspondent Ross Hawkins joins us live now from the Olympic Park in Stratford, where the Prime Minister will be invoking that rather special atmosphere of 2012.
He'll be trying to invoke it in the cause of maintaining the union, that Olympic spirit, these Olympic images. Clearly so central to what he's trying to say. Tessa Jowell, the Labour MP, who's here today. Tessa Jowell, what's it like to be coming and talking to me in support of a Tory Prime Minister's speech?
Together, Scotland remaining part of the United Kingdom, and this is a cross-party campaign. Alistair Darling is leading the campaign in Scotland, I mean, with magnificent passion and authority. So we're all in this together.
We're all in this together, something plenty of Conservatives have said. Why should a single Scot have their mind changed?
The irony.
I must have missed it. Why should a single Scot have their mind changed by the comments of you, a London MP, even though you were born in Scotland, by a Conservative Prime Minister who grew up in Scotland, who chooses to give this speech a very long way from Scotland?
Well, because this is the place, the Olympic Park, where I think most people across the United Kingdom can remember, you know, that incredible Super Saturday when we won 3 gold medals, Mo Farah, a Somalian refugee here as a little boy, not speaking English, draped in the Union flag. It was a moment of Britishness. And obviously, the decision is a decision for Scotland and for the people who live there. I don't live in Scotland, and you know the other 55 million people like me will obviously not have a vote.
And that is basically David Cameron's argument today, that those Britons who do not live in Scotland, live in the rest of the UK, can have some sort of persuasive voice in this. It's just very hard to see in practical terms how that happens.
Well, the practical issues are very specific. You know, the cultural benefits, the historical fact of our union. All these are, you know, the practical facts, and then, of course, the practical benefits which have been, and uncertainties created by independence, which have been matters for discussion this week. But today is about saying, you know, with our hearts we are British, and it doesn't matter where you live in the United Kingdom, and we just hope that people in Scotland will vote to continue to be part of the United Kingdom.
Well, thank you very much. Tessa Jowell, a Labour MP there, supporting the union, should insist, not necessarily too enthusiastically, a Conservative Prime Minister, one who'll give his speech within the hour or so at this location. We'll hear a bit of what he has to say a little bit later on.
David Cameron will tell Scotland, we want you to stay, as he prepares to urge people across the UK to unite against independence. Hello, good morning. Welcome to BBC News. Well, we're going to take you straight to Stratford in the east of London in the Olympic Park because David Cameron has just started speaking.
Co-hosting this event. This is a fantastic, forward-looking university, and we're very grateful for your support today, as we are to the Lee Valley Velo Park for hosting us in this magnificent space. Centuries of history hang in the balance. If people vote yes in September, then Scotland will become an independent country. And as I've made clear, this is a decision that is squarely and solely for those in Scotland to make. But my argument today is that while only 4 million people can vote in this referendum, that's why this speech is addressed to people of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Within these countries, there are a whole range of different views about this referendum. There are those that I would call the quiet patriots, people who love the United Kingdom, love our flag and our history, but think there's nothing much that they can do to encourage Scotland to stay in the UK. So they stay out of the debate. Then there are the shoulder shruggers, people who are ambivalent about the outcome, who think this doesn't matter much to anyone south of the border. Their view is that if Scotland left the UK, but we could just wave them a wistful goodbye and carry on as normal. And then there are those who think we'd be better off if Scotland did leave the UK.
In England, we have this one-eyed Scottish idiot. I've said that now.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson apologised after saying that about Gordon Brown, but on Scottish independence, he said if Scots want to break away, he would wave a teary handkerchief and say, take your stupid bagpipes with you.
Now, today, I want to take on all of these views. The idea that we'd be better off without Scotland, the idea that this makes no difference to the rest of the UK, and the idea that however much we might care, we in England, Wales and Northern Ireland can have no voice in this debate because we don't have a vote. All of the above are wrong. We would be deeply diminished without Scotland. This matters to all of our futures, and everyone in the UK can have a voice in this debate. I want to make this case by putting forward what to me are the 4 compelling reasons why the United Kingdom is stronger with Scotland within it. The first is our connections with each other. Over 3 centuries, we have lived together, worked together, and frankly, we've got together. Such is the fusion of our bloodlines that my surname goes back to the West Highlands. And by the way, I'm as proud of my Scottish heritage as I am of my English or my Welsh heritage. The name Cameron might mean crooked nose, but the clan motto is let us unite, and that is exactly what our islands and our nations have done. Today, 800,000 Scots live elsewhere in the United Kingdom. When the Acts of Union were passed, the role of the state was limited to things like defence, taxes and property rights. Since then, the state has transformed beyond recognition, and our institutions, they have grown together, like the roots of great trees fusing together under the foundations of our daily lives. Now, of course, the First Minister fights hard for those deals too, but the clout we have as a United Kingdom gives us a much better chance of getting around the right tables, bashing down the trade barriers, getting those deals signed. And the result? Scotch whisky adds £135 to the UK's balance of payments every single second. We come as a brand, and a powerful brand. Separating Scotland out of that brand would be like separating the waters of the River Tweed and the North Sea. But pounds and pence, institutional questions, that's not really what it's about for me. Our shared values, freedom, solidarity, compassion, not just overseas but at home, our parliament, our laws, our way of life. So often, down the centuries, the UK has given people hope. We've shown that democracy and prosperity can go hand in hand, that resolution is found not through the bullet, but the ballot box.
In England, we have this one-eyed Scottish idiot. I've said that now.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson apologised after saying that about Gordon Brown, but on Scottish independence, he said if Scots want to break away, he would wave a teary handkerchief and say, take your stupid bagpipes with you.
Our values are of value to the world. In the darkest times in human history, there has been in the North Sea a light that never goes out. That together, these islands really do stand for something more than the sum of our parts. They stand for bigger ideals, nobler causes, greater values. Our brilliant United Kingdom. Brave, brilliant, buccaneering, generous, tolerant, proud. This is our country, England. I love this country and all it stands for. And I will fight with everything I have. And so I want to be clear to everyone listening. There can be no complacency about the result of this referendum. The outcome is still up in the air. And we have just 7 months to go. 7 months to do all we can to keep our England as one. 7 months to save the most extraordinary country in history. And we must do whatever it takes. So to everyone in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, everyone like me who cares about England, I want to say this. You don't have a vote, but you do have a voice. Those voting, they're our friends, they're our neighbours, they're our family. You do have an influence. So get on the phone, get together, email, tweet, speak. Let the message ring out from Manchester to Motherwell, from Pembrokeshire to Perth, from Belfast to Bute, from us to the people of Scotland. Let the message be this: we want you to stay. Think of what we've done together, what we can do together, what we stand for together. Team England, the winning team in the history of the world. Let us stick together, England, for a winning future too. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Time for some questions and points from...
In England, we have this one-eyed Scottish idiot. I've said that now.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson apologised after saying that about Gordon Brown, but on Scottish independence, he said if Scots want to break away, he would wave a teary handkerchief and say, take your stupid bagpipes with you.
Let's bring you up to date with the speech that we're going to be talking to Alex Salmond in just a few moments, but first... we're going to do that now. Right. The First Minister of Scotland, Alex Salmond, joins us now from Scotland. You will be aware that David Cameron made a speech a little earlier today to make his case for how Scotland and the United Kingdom are better off together. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And members of your party have been quite critical, particularly about the venue of David Cameron's speech this morning. But the Olympics was a brilliant symbol, wasn't it, of just what can be achieved as Great Britain united together.
I think the point that was being made is that members of Better Together have been attacking or suggesting there should be no attempt to politicise the Commonwealth Games, which we've been running for the last 6 years, in terms of the run-up to the contest where Scotland takes part as an independent country in the Commonwealth Games. But now, of course, David Cameron goes to the Olympic Stadium to politicise the Olympic Games of 2 years ago. I mean, if I went to Hampden to make a political speech, then I'm sure that the Better Together campaign would be jumping up and down. But I actually think the main thing isn't that. The main thing is that this is a speech delivered from London, ostensibly telling people in England what to do, but actually arguing against Scottish independence. Instead of a debate that the Prime Minister must do in Scotland, a debate with me as First Minister of Scotland about the pros and cons of his argument against independence. And the chance is there because 2 weeks on Monday, he's bringing the UK Cabinet to Dice here in Aberdeen. I've got the Scottish Cabinet on the same day in Portleffen, 10 miles away. You know, the studio's here in the BBC in Aberdeen. Okay. Let's have that debate. Instead of having a sermon from Mount Olympus, let's have a democratic debate in this television studio 2 weeks on Monday. and let's make it game on.
OK, well, let's just talk about today's speech first, before we get 2 weeks ahead of ourselves. He made it very clear that he was talking to the people of Wales, of England and Northern Ireland, so it would have been quite bizarre, would it not, to go to Aberdeen or Glasgow to make a speech when he's talking not to the people of Scotland, but to the people of the rest of Great Britain.
Well, you should look at the own headline on the BBC online copy. You know, Cameron tells Scots to stay. That's what the BBC interpretation of the speech is.
He's saying we want Scotland to say, not telling them what to do.
Well, no, I'm referring to your own online copy. I mean, obviously, this is a speech directed at the people of Scotland and against independence. Now, incidentally, I've got no problem whatsoever. I've made speeches in Newcastle, in London, in Liverpool in the last few months about Scottish independence, and I very welcome all views on Scottish independence. I just want the Prime Minister to come and debate with me and stop being such a big fearty.
Well,
but in terms of what the people of England are going to say about this, let's say you are in the Somerset levels at the present moment and heard your Prime Minister say your priority must be to phone up your friends in Scotland and tell them to vote independence. I think folk in Somerset are more likely to phone up Downing Street, tell the Prime Minister to get his wellies on and come and help them instead of neglecting them, which he's been doing since Christmas. So I don't think this is a Prime Minister who speaks for Britain. I don't think he speaks for England. I think he speaks for a Westminster elite who are totally and utterly out of touch.
But, I mean, if you are on the Somerset levels and your Prime Minister was in Scotland at the moment, you might be quite cross about that. Let's just talk about the questions that came out.
Indeed, that's exactly the point I'm making. I'm saying that David Cameron's priority since Christmas, instead of being fast asleep at the wheel, should have been dealing with the huge problems that the suffering people in Somerset have at the present moment, as opposed to lecturing Scotland, or for that matter, telling people to phone up Scots and vote against independence. If he wants to enter into a debate, then let him come and have a democratic debate in Scotland. And in the meantime, why doesn't he attend to his own duties and help the people of Somerset and give them a decent deal as opposed to being stuck in London?
In terms of the democratic debate, he is not the leader of the Stay Together campaign, is he? That's Alistair Darling, so surely the debate should be between yourself and Alistair Darling. Let's just go back to the speech and the questions that came afterwards.
Can I answer that point precisely? He's the Prime Minister, I'm the First Minister. I'll willingly debate with anybody as long as we have that first debate. Now, the reason for it is quite obvious. If I want to say about, let's say, the bedroom tax and demand to know from David Cameron why he thinks the bedroom tax is a good idea to impose upon the Scottish people, nobody else can explain that. Nobody else can explain that. They can say they're against it as well, but David Cameron would have to explain it. If I say, what did you mean in your question-answer session today when you said that further devolution could emerge if there's a no vote? Alistair Darling can't say anything about that.
But this is bigger.
Only David Cameron can say something about that because he's the Prime Minister. Now, there's no way around this.
The
overwhelming
moment,
majority of the people of Scotland want to see that debate.
Than Alex Salmond and David Cameron. You happen to be the First Minister of Scotland at the moment. He happens to be the Prime Minister of Britain at the moment.
Which is why there should be a debate. This is about
the yes campaign and the no campaign, because you won't necessarily be forming the next Scottish government, nor will he the next British government. So this is a debate between the yes campaign and the no campaign.
Yes, and the leader of the no campaign, which you may not be aware of, is the former Labour MP is Alistair Darling, and the leader of the yes campaign is the former Labour MP Dennis Canavan. They are the leaders of the respective campaigns. I'm suggesting there should be a debate between the Prime Minister, who wants to intervene in this argument but not debate, as Prime Minister, given his responsibilities, and the First Minister of Scotland were given my responsibilities. The people who are articulating the case for yes and for no. That should be the debate, and that is supported by the overwhelming majority of people in Scotland, and indeed the majority of people in England, who now accept and are accustomed to the idea that there should be democratic debates. Incidentally, the BBC supported the idea of television debates in the last general election campaign.
Just a final point. One of the questions that came out was from a woman who works in cashmere and textiles manufacturing, and she was sort of making the point that actually at this time when things have been so tough for business, would it not be better that Britain was working as a whole to promote great British textiles abroad ahead of people like France or those further afield, rather than setting up against each other?
Well, we have an organisation called Scottish Development International, which promotes Scotland internationally. Our record in inward investment and in exports is outstanding. It's far better, actually, than the UK as a whole. We believe that's because we promote the excellence of our products through that Scottish identity. And what I would argue to people elsewhere in these islands is concerned, that they should look for that increased autonomy as well, because that gives them a semblance of economic control. And it's quite significant, incidentally, that since Wales and Northern Ireland followed the path that Scotland has over the last couple of years in terms of inward investment attraction, they've also seen a boost in their inward investment. This idea of centralising things in London is, well, it's maybe good for London, but it's no hope for the rest of the country, which is why I think many people across England, across Wales and across Northern Ireland understand our wish in Scotland to run our own affairs, to benefit our own economy, to get rid of nuclear weapons, not to have the bedroom tax. And basically, David Cameron, who's imposing a range of policies in Scotland that we never voted for, is actually, whether he likes it or not, the embodiment of why people should vote yes in September.
Alex Salmond, good to talk to you as always. Thank
Great
you very
pleasure.
much indeed.
Thank you.